Good morning from Kentmorr Marina. Isn't this view behind me just to die for? It's so hard not to take our coffees up here in the morning and kind of forget that we have to get to work, especially now that the temperatures are warming up and we need to start working earlier and earlier in the day because of the resin's gonna kick. But yeah, feel so incredibly fortunate to be here. And even if we don't get to spend like all morning lounging up in this area on the Viking, at least we get to end our days with a beer here in the afternoon. Oh, but totally not the reason I came up here. I wanted to show you the view, but we have a super exciting step happening today. Matt has cut all of the bulkheads, not all of them, but 1 through 3, and kind of did a dry fit of them over the past few days, and now we're going to insert the first one. So our boat is about to make a huge change. She's not going to look like the empty form that she has for the past 2 months. After 8 years of the nomadic life, involving crossing oceans in a 34-foot Sabre, refitting an aluminum boat, and then taking that to the Arctic Circle, we're back at it again with a brand new build. This is Matt and I'm Jessica. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and join us every week as we start our newest project of building a 42-foot catamaran from the ground up. Our hope for the day was to add in bulkheads 2 and 3 in both the port and starboard hulls. But before we could even get ourselves to that point, Matt was busy making sure everything was level and sitting in the hulls exactly where they should be. It's only 75 degrees and it's already getting too hot for Matt to focus.
This is horrible. Opposite of brain freeze, whatever that is.
Brain mush.
Brain mush. I don't deal well with heat at all.
No, especially having to be covered because we're working with fiberglass. Totally different than the alu boat. Basically had to wear nothing while working on that. So as we're learning right now, Matt's going through and adjusting everything to make sure it's level for when we're ready to actually adhere it in. Don't lean against, rest against, bump into this side of the hull because it changes the adjustments. This side a little bit better, but we're best just kind of sticking in the middle here. Matt has just gotten bulkhead 2 level in all directions using a combination of our laser level, the hand level, and a carpenter square. So you have to be very, very careful like not to bump or adjust anything. And we're going to get ready to go over and do the port side. Once that is done, we're going to take the thickened resin mixture and just kind of make like a little cove on each of the seams there, and then once that starts to harden, not all the way, but to the point where it's just kind of like tacky, you can put your finger on it and take it away clean. Then we will go through and layer the glass on top of it. And now it's lessons from Matt.
So, as I said before, we don't want this touching the hull. We want just a little bit of a gap, basically 1-2 millimeters. I mean, just a little bit of light coming through is great. Otherwise, what we're doing is the maximum that we can have is about 5 millimeters, which is 3 of these little popsicle sticks, tongue depressors, are 4.7 millimeters. So it just gives me an idea. I can go around and do it just a quick little gauge, just to make sure that I don't have any gap larger than 5 millimeters. If I do, then it's best to just go through and use some of our offcuts and kind of just fill that in with a little bit of foam. Simple, easy process, but again, just want to make sure that I'm good all the way around. Yeah, it's tight there, so it's right at my 5 millimeters. That's tight there too, so that's 5 millimeters. Yeah, it looks like we're all good. I did check level top to bottom, so basically if it's leaning inboard or not. Check level fore and aft, and basically just made sure it's square within the hull too. So now it's time to actually fiberglass and tape each one of these bulkheads in.
So as you can see, Matt has already gone through and thickened up our resin, so I'm going to scoop some of it in a cup and add the peroxide hardener, hand it to him, and then we're going to start filling in those gaps and making a cove. Boat building is all about living and learning, and I'm sure there are a few of you watching this right now and thinking, wait, I know a much easier way to do that task. But keep watching until day 2, because that's all it took for us to figure out how to make things a little easier on ourselves as well.
You've got yourself a tight little working area there.
To install the bulkheads, we first do a fillet of thickened resin. This sets the bulkhead in place and prepares it for the fiberglass, which will go on top. Because fiberglass strands do not want to bend at a 90-degree angle, this helps to transition from the inside point and spread the load. So far, Matt has gone through and has done coves for 3 of the sides for bulkhead 2 between port and starboard. Over on the starboard side, he did the forward side of it, and then over on port, you can see him working on that now. He's done the forward side and he's doing the inner side. We just took a break a second ago while I was mixing up some more resin for him, and he went to check where he started, and that part is beginning to kick a little bit here. So before we get too far, because we don't want that to fully harden before we glass, he's just going to do that last section that he's working on now. Then we'll go back around, glass that, and once that portion's done, we'll pick up with coving and keep the cycle through. So then once bulkhead 2 is in, we'll do the same process for bulkhead 3.
Yeah, it's a little tight.
Here. Sneak attack camera in your face.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't going to be the tightest. Obviously, there's going to be some other areas that we're going to be even tighter. But for the first ones to be doing it, and already starting off like this.
Better still have your fan. Careful.
So if you can hear me over Matt's fan, which is being very helpful in keeping him cool while he has to work in long sleeves and pants, this is a layer of the 150 millimeter 12 ounce glass going on, and then once he has that all the way on, then he will be putting over it the 100 millimeter, and then that's it. And see how nice and smooth it's rolling on?
What's this?
Jessica's working.
Jessica's fiberglassing.
Who would have thought they'd see the day?
And Matt's behind the camera.
Who would have thought they'd see that day?
Yeah.
Always the best part of the day when we can take off our sweaty masks and breathe again. Hopefully with some fresh air outside in just a minute, but we did finish glassing in bulkhead 2, and it turns out, as per usual, this project took a little bit longer than we were expecting because we were like aligning everything earlier and cutting the tapes, but now it is 6 o'clock. So kind of too late to start on bulkhead 3.
Wrong. We're starting on bulkhead 3.
Are we?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
We're gonna be here till like midnight.
Yeah.
So we're starting on bulkhead 3, and I was so happily gonna show you my work, but now I think I'm just gonna hide in a corner and cry. So I'll quick show you my section before I get to work again. So this is the side I just did, which is the aft end of bulkhead 2, and you can see it has the 2 layers of glass in it. This edge is the 150 millimeter, inside is the 100 millimeter, going all the way down, and of course up inside that as well. So tomorrow when we come in, it'll be nice and rigid, give us lots of extra strength. So I just realized that after last week's episode, when we told you about our new home with the 31-foot pacemaker, and I kind of showed the bottom because that needed a good sanding and painting before we can launch it, I didn't show you anything else. So it's time to take a tour of our new home, which, if you can see behind me here, it's like all cockpit, so we're losing even more space, it seems, as every home that we go to now. You can see that the fly bridge space is definitely not the same as it is in the Viking. And poor Georgie, where she used to spend her days, is going to lose a lot of space as well. But at least she has plants to eat. And on the Viking, of course, we had such great light inside with the side windows and the aft end being glass. This one only has the sliding door, so we do lose some of that light right there. But on the plus side, because the aft end like sticks into the workyard, we do gain that privacy, especially since we didn't have curtains on the Viking. So always had to be careful what we were doing once the sun went down. All right, let's take a look inside to our new living space. And here she is in all of her grandeur. This is all of it. Oh, except for the head. Which actually isn't that bad of a space. Especially once we clean it out. The dinette area behind me here is actually a pretty good space, and Matt and I think we'll of course have our dinners there, maybe do some like lounging work on the computers. And it also does go down and a cushion goes on top of it, so should we invite a guest over on this big space we have, they do have a space that they can crash for the night. You're gonna have to get used to storing things under cushions again. I think this space is going to become pantry. The bed where Matt and I are storing some of our extra clothes right now. I think eventually we're just going to have to put like packing cubes along the wall because the drawers here are not too plentiful, but we'll make it work. Our galley space, there is a 2-burner stove here and just a little sink under here, but because the refrigerator is only this, we are going to need to add something a little extra, which we actually have in mind already. We're assuming that this bench here is going to be pretty much like unused space for the most part, so we're going to, I think, put our mini fridge in this area here. And once we can store our follies somewhere else, I believe we're going to do some kind of like shelf storage unit here, and then at this point have like a flat top, and Georgie will have her bed so that she can look out at the beautiful water views. And the only other real plans we have for kind of like renovations at the moment is taking out the carpeted floor and putting down a hard surface, but for the carpeted walls, we're going to give them a good cleaning right now. Don't have any plans to change those anytime soon. The cushions, again, both sides, I think those will get a nice steam cleaning, but for now they'll be good enough. So it's going to be a spot for us to sleep and to cook our meals, but otherwise we plan on just powering through with our long days on the catamaran build. So yeah, nice floating home here at Kentmorr. Soundtracks work to enhance your life, even if you don't realize it's happening. It can turn a sunset on the water into a magical moment shared with someone you love. It can help to educate and inform you as you explore the world around you. Kent Island is the 3rd oldest permanent English settlement in the United States. And when you're out there hitting the pavement, it can bring you up to that perfect runner's high. Wait, I don't run. For the portable soundtrack to your life, choose the new Soundcore Life Dot 2. Hey everyone, I wanted to talk to you for just a second about the new Life Dot 2 wireless earbuds from Soundcore, a company that Matt and I have been using for years because it's going to be the best value for the price. And they've just come out with a new Life Dot 2 earbuds which have some amazing qualities, like a 100-hour listen time, and even if you only have 10 minutes to charge it, that gives you 90 minutes of listening. They're waterproof. And one of my favorite things, the new design has these little wing tips, so they fit comfortably in your ear and they're not going to go anywhere while you're moving about. So if you want to get your hands on your own set, make sure to check out the link in our description box below.
You know, tell everyone how you got lucky and didn't have to do this last night.
In a second. It is now the next morning, and I kind of did get my wish that we didn't have to start Bulkhead 3 after we finished. Not because I'm not excited to get it in, but because we would have been here until about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had to finish editing a video and get it up the same night, so I would have been up until like dawn, which that didn't happen because by the time Bulkhead 2 hardened enough that we could like work around it without it accidentally moving on us, it was around 8 o'clock at night, and that was just a little too late to begin considering the whole process takes about like 4 or 5 hours. So Matt is in the porthole right now, adjusting Bulkhead 3, using the laser level, getting that all ready, so then we can start the process and get that in. But what's really fun is when we go to do the forward part of Bulkhead 3, because Bulkhead 2 is in there, like we literally are gonna have to climb either through the hull side or like through the opening at Bulkhead 2, so it's gonna be an interesting day.
I think I found the recipe that works the best for setting up these bulkheads. Basically what I'm doing is along this flange area and keeping it fairly tight, so not cutting off any of the excess. Once we bond in this lower area, then I can go through and kind of just back cut it to get our spacing that we need. So it's really, really tight over here. That flange actually won't fit at all. But once that's in place, I'll just come in with the oscillating tool, the multi-tool, and then come through and cut that out as needed to be able to fit in there. But what that's doing is that's holding this position right here and allowing me to not really need a lot of shims in this lower section to keep that strength there. I've got it tight in majority of the places. There's a few little spots that are touching here. And all I'm gonna do is, again, I'm gonna take that multi-tool and zzz along there and get myself a little bit of gap. So if you could just hand me the tool.
Yep.
After last time of using basically my other scraper and our squeegee and it didn't work out real well, I finally took the initiative and cut this one down to the proper shape. Makes life so much easier doing it with this. Yeah, so it's a quick, easy process then when you just one pass type of thing.
Not only did we find out after our first day of bulkhead installation that having a squeegee with a rounded corner really helps the process of getting a clean and even spread of the thickened resin, but we also switched from applying it directly from a cup to squeezing it out of a pastry bag.
I missed you already. I had to come be by you. That pastry bag giving you a bit of control?
Yes, it is.
All right, Matt has gone through and done the coving on the forward and aft sides of Bulkhead 3. So you can see over here how nice that looks, and it's actually pretty warm in here today, so this stuff is kicking fast. Now both of us are going to go through and fiberglass the the cloths that we have over here, the 150 and the 100 millimeter.
Now if you wish to spread those wings and fly, you gotta turn it around. Don't look over your shoulder, don't ever look back. No use for second opinions, don't wanna stay in the past. Just keep on going, go for the top. You keep on rolling, and don't ever stop.
For this week's Q&A, there's really only one question that came up a lot that wasn't referring to actually like a video from before that week's Q&A, and that was, why did Max Cruise send you these bulkheads that you need to cut down yourself to fit into the spaces? It seems like they should just have those already pre-cut and fit for you. And Matt actually did cover that in the video from last week, but I cut it for time, so now I will just go back and add that section back in for you. But mostly it just has to do with shipping, because they figured it was better to like pad it with some extra fiberglass around and have it get to us all in one piece. But I will let Matt explain it to you a little bit more.
So today what I'm doing is trimming off this excess fiberglass. The reason why Max Cruise did this instead of just being the final trim piece is to protect the panels as they're getting shipped. That way the edge isn't going to get abused. And we've been dragging these across gravel, we've been doing all kinds of stuff, not these ones specific, but the larger ones. So it has done a really good job. It served its purpose in protecting those edges. So now today what I'm doing is I'm trimming these off, getting them close to final width.
It is my favorite time of the week, again, where we get to add our Patreon names to the catamaran. And if you hadn't heard in previous videos, this is going to be one of our forward storage lockers. So other than giving this like a nice clear coat to protect it, we're never going to cover it with paint or anything else. So anytime we grab things out of here, we will be reminded of all of our wonderful patrons who got us to this point, because there is no way that we could be doing this build without their support right now. So we're so grateful for them. And as you can tell, I have just moved over to the new wall here because we filled up our first one, which is awesome. The patrons that are on this wall now have joined us just as we were crossing from Scotland over to Norway in the summer of 2019. So they were there for some pretty big milestones for us, like getting up to the Arctic Circle. And then I think this group was with us as we came back down Norway, like all the way up to the top and down. That was a long journey. And then went back across to Scotland, down the coast of Ireland, and to England, where we finally wintered, which actually brings me to a couple of our shout-outs this week. Want to give a big thanks to Emilian, who has been a big supporter of ours, and we actually had the chance to meet him in Plymouth and hear all about his sailing stories around there, so that was really cool. And another person who's given us lots of support is Walter Jury, who you have probably seen featured in a few of our videos from the summer of 2020, because not only did he take us to the Dazcat factory to tour around, we sailed the Isles of Scilly with them, and they even took us in the first night that we were homeless after selling Elements in England last year. So big thank you to Walter. But as you can tell, we still have lots of room to fill here, so make sure to click on our Patreon link in the description box below so we can get your name up here as well.
Give me your freedom. Whoa, yeah, me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. Life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium.